What is up, everybody? Love you guys. Check this out. Welcome to another episode of the Bowman Legacies podcast, where we're brought to you by, of course, Bowman Legacies, making life better for the blue-collar worker, one CEO at a time. Look, guys, check us out at www.bowmanlegacies.com/lead from the middle and learn how to lead on a high level. And I'm going to add this too. If you have an organization and you're trying to get your people to rise to that next occasion and you want to teach them, but you don't have the time, that's fine. At Bowman Legacies, we have an app. You can plug that into your phone and listen to these lessons. You can take them with you wherever you go. Not only that, we're always adding to them. Questionnaires are starting to pop up in them. We're starting to do a whole lot of new things in it, and it is a lifetime subscription to that. For the lifetime of the website, to the lifetime of these lessons being up, you have them forever. And if we change them, we bring new lessons, you get those too, completely free. So check it out at bowmanlegacies.com/lead from the middle. That's bowmanlegacies.com/lead from the middle. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about something, guys. Today I want to talk about yelling as leaders. And a lot of the time we see this being used as a tactic to kind of light a fire under somebody. We feel like we need, for whatever reason, to yell to bring our point across. Now, the problem with the yelling is that it shuts a certain part of the human brain off to trust you and to listen. It stops it. There's a part in there that once you begin to yell, once you begin to bark, once you begin to growl, whoever's receiving that, it's just nothing but negativity heaped upon negativity. But you know what? Not every leader yells verbally. In other words, they don't always raise their voice and yell. Sometimes it's different. Sometimes it's bigger than that. And at Bowman Legacies, we really believe the yelling is a much bigger concept. You know, for those of us who are parents, you hear your kids say things like, well, you're always yelling at me. And we're thinking, I'm not yelling at you. You haven't heard yelling yet. And that is not at all what they're trying to say. That is not at all what they're trying to say. So I want to break this down in a little bit of a deeper level that maybe you've never even thought about before, that I believe, as we oversimplify and demystify leadership, both at home and at work, yelling is under a huge category all on its own. And under that category is things like sarcasm, belittling people, things like using threatening language, threatening tones. Look, you're wanting to be a leader. You're wanting to guide people. And if yelling, in my opinion, a lot of people believe that, well, that's when I yell, it's brought in by anger. Well, anger is simply a fear response. No, I'm angry. You made me angry. First and foremost, let me tell you, I didn't make you do anything. None of your people made you angry. You chose anger. That's the methodology you chose. You chose anger. And this is from a guy who was an angeraholic, okay? That was my default mechanism was, I had the resting bitch face 24/7. I even had it when I was sleeping. So, that was my default. But what I came to realize is that anger is a choice. And it is a choice derived by fear. So understand that. And the fear isn't that fear that you're too afraid to go out in the dark to see something that went bump in the night. It is a fear of what will happen now that things are out of control. Things are now officially out of my control, so I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm disappointed, I'm ticked off, and now I'm getting aggressive. So yelling is a part of that. I yell because I'm angry. No, you don't. You yell because you're fearful. Now, like I said previously, yelling isn't just raising your voice. It can also be being extremely condescending. I see this as a tool of weak leaders, to be condescending. In other words, almost making fun of or making light of something that someone did wrong and making them feel bad about it. Another one that I see being used is a tool that I put under that yelling umbrella is being, badgering someone, bringing it up and constantly remind them, no, remember when you did wrong here. I'll never forget watching a husband and wife talk, and the wife brought up something that happened 10 years ago. And the husband said, you already forgave me of that. This is not even the same thing. But she's constantly bringing it up to him, as if to say the weight of what he did wrong, he needs to continue to carry. So when you badger and you belittle, what you're really trying to do is initiate control. You're trying to keep people in their place. You're trying to keep their thumb on people. I watched a father and a son sit on a front porch swing, and the father brought up things to the son from when he was 8 years old. He was an 8-year-old child, and the dad was still mad about what this adult male did when he was 8 years old. His son did at 8 years old. What the father doesn't realize is he has a lot of bitterness issues and that he needs to forgive and let go of things. But what he also doesn't realize is this is a manipulation tool just to remind you, son, of all the things you did bad. And you need to know your place, because even though I'm older, I'm still dad, and you're still the boy. You see, belittling, demeaning, bringing up old issues, never really moving forward. These are all tools of a weak leader. These are all tools of a bad leader. These are all primitive tools of manipulation. And we manipulate when we can't lead. Did you hear that now? That is so good. This is where you write notes down. We manipulate when we can't lead. And what I'm trying to do here simply is help you to recognize these things in yourself first and foremost, and others. You see, yelling is so multiplicital. It's so much bigger than just screaming and raising your voice. Yelling can be done in such a way that it's almost elusive. It's almost elusive. Not everybody is that leader that will browbeat you and yell at you and scream until they're red in their face for 15 minutes. It's not always as obvious as that. It's not always as obvious as that. Using threatening tones and words, this is another way of being manipulative. We learn these things when we're very young. Usually our parents teach us and imprint us at a young age on how to manipulate, how to use things, and it becomes so natural a lot of times we don't know. I didn't know. I was raised with a very stark amount of circumstances. If I didn't comply, X, Y, or Z would happen, and usually those things were very severe. So as a young kid who's already pretty compliant already, soft-hearted and empathic, I really didn't need beat up. I didn't really need threatened. But when those tools were used, I began to understand them, and then I began to use them. It's just like, as a leader, it's very difficult for you to ask your people to be people of integrity when you're not. And as parents, it's very hard for you to ask your kids to do one thing when really you're doing another, but you don't even realize it. You see, on one hand, I'm being taught one thing, but as I'm watching a certain parent, I'm realizing that threatening and being angry and being gruff and aggressive immediately is the way I make my way in life. And so that's what I did. And what I realized is it always put a certain, how do I put this? It always put a certain flare of heaviness in the room when I would use those things. Whether it was manipulating or trying to manipulate through fear or sympathy or Or here's another one that a lot of people use is guilt tripping. I would actually put guilt tripping in a subcategory in between manipulative leaders and the yeller, because it's almost the same thing, because you're striking that same place in the human psyche. You are trying to make me feel bad about a certain type of behavior, and you're choosing manipulation to do that. This is not tools of a great leader. These are not tools of a great leader. So what do you do instead? 10 minutes and 37 seconds of telling you what not to do. What do you do instead? You begin to realize that fear is doing the thinking for you. This is so important. Is to ask yourself in these moments, when you're mad, when you're being manipulative, when you're being angry, when you're yelling, when you're browbeating, when you're talking down to people, you have to start to recognize that first in you. And then ask yourself, what's doing the thinking for me here? Why am I so angry? What am I afraid of? The mother manipulates the child. It's the old story. We see it in movies all the time. Well, you never call me. Why don't you call me? I don't know what the grandkids are doing. Hey, you don't ever come over, right? All that manipulation is because of the fear that she's living life, and this is what's doing the thinking for her, that she is not going to have a good relationship with the grandkids, that she is missing out on the beauty of your life, and she wants to be a part of it. And so she manipulates. You see, that's what's doing the thinking for her. Now, if you can recognize those things in yourself, ask yourself, okay, I just yelled at my crew. I just yelled at my kids. What was doing the thinking for me? And I'm going to use this as an example. I recognized this in myself one day. I had just bought a brand new John Deere mower and had taught my youngest daughter how to mow the grass. And she's pulling it into the backyard. She's finishing up, and I recognize that there's a huge gouge on the little plastic fender, rear fender. Now, this is a brand new mower. I mean, I just bought the thing. It's like a new penny. And I look at her and I said, what's that? Hey, hon, what's that? And she's like, I don't know. Well, immediately my eyebrows raised and I go, hey, hold on, don't go. And she was going into the house. I said, no. Get over here. I want to talk to you. What is that? And she said, I told you, Dad, I don't know. And I said, hey, look, I just bought this thing. What is that? And then I recognized what I was doing. And I immediately began to retract. I took what I call the standing 8 count. I just took 8 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 seconds to save a relationship. Isn't it worth it? That 8 seconds may have been awkward for you, may have been hard for you to listen to, but 8 seconds. Can you imagine just taking 8 seconds, looking back and recognizing that you've lost the relationship with your kids with all you had to do was take 8 seconds? So I took 8 seconds, and when I did, I looked back up at her and I go, hey, hon, I'm not mad at you. I don't care about this mower. You've got to understand I don't care about the mower. What I care about is you, and what you're actually hearing is a fearful father, because he's afraid that he put you in control of something that would get you hurt or worse. Her shoulders slumped and she said, well, I got too close to the neighbor's car trailer and I'm pretty sure I rubbed against it, but I didn't hear anything, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And I said, hey, look, I love you more than anything in this world. And the idea that I gave you a responsibility that would get you hurt makes me feel fear. So you're not hearing an angry father. You're hearing a fearful one. And I hope you understand that. So I'm sorry for yelling at you. Now, I didn't really yell at her, right? But I was using very aggressive tones. Because my immediate response was, holy crap, she put a gouge in the mower. What did she hit? Is she okay? Could she have toppled the mower over? And at the time where we lived, We didn't have a flat yard. We don't have a flat yard now, but when we had this property, we had 31 acres, and it was very rural. It was very rough, and there were areas that you could definitely roll a mower if you weren't careful. And so with that in mind, I really had to be cognizant of, safety and training her the proper way to do things. As leaders, when we browbeat and when we yell, what happens is they don't want to talk to us. In that moment, my daughter didn't want to talk to me either, because I started off in an aggressive tone to where she was even saying, I don't know what happened. 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 She knew what happened. She didn't want to tell me because I was already starting this conversation off with being aggressive. That's why your people don't want to talk to you, man. That's why your people don't want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you because you're too busy being aggressive in whatever that tone is. So now what I strive to do is take that standing 8 count and think about things. And for several reasons. One, to preserve the relationship, first and foremost. I want to show that person that I love them enough, whether that's at work or at home, that I'm not going to use these primitive, ignorant, impoverished thinking tactics to lead them. Whether at home or at work, it does not matter. The idea that you think that you need to be a different leader at work than at home, no, the same leader is required. Period. And so whether at work or at home, if I'm using that condescending, manipulative, nagging conversation and talk, if I'm being, here's another thing, that whole submarining conversation, in other words, that undermining, that nicey nice talk, people just shut off, man. They're not going to trust you. And in this life, what we really want is people to trust us. What we want is to be able to lead on a high level. If you've come this far, that's what you want. That's what you're looking for. You're trying to be a greater leader. And the place where it starts is not recognizing this in everybody else, because that's easy. That's easy. It's easy to point it out with other people. But man, where you're really going to grow, where you're really going to maximize yourself is look at yourself and see, hey man, this is where I'm displaying this behavior. You want to take it a step further? I mean, you really want to crush this and fast track yourself through this? I'm going to tell you what to do. Ask your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your child to point it out in you when you do it. Your employee to point it out. Hey, man, point this out in me when I do this, when I mess up like this. You want to crank it up another notch? And what this causes you to do is to walk in humility, walk in honor. Because you are asking someone who is subordinate technically to you, not your wife or your spouse, but your kids or your coworkers, to point out negative behavior in you when you do it. You're allowing yourself to be accountable to someone else who is quote unquote lower in the leadership line than you. What this does is empowers other people. When Perry Sanders was teaching me leadership, and I didn't even know that's what he was teaching me. I just thought this was a good dude. But when he was just trying to help me in life, and he was, but what he was teaching me was how to lead on a high level. And when there were times when he flubbed it and I pointed it out and said, hey man, that wasn't so good, I think maybe you made a mistake there, he would consider it because he respected me. He would consider it because he was leading me. He would consider it because he knew the importance of empowering me and allowing me to have a voice in their life. Can you imagine being the president of an organization and one of your subordinates comes and says, hey man, the way that you talked to that employee was not okay, and most likely what you should do is apologize. Holy crap, the dynamic. And the reason why people don't want this is because they want absolute power. But absolute power corrupts absolutely. You will never ascend to that level of a leader if you're not willing to be held accountable by somebody. If you're constantly driving to be on the top so you have no accountability, you come and go as you please and do whatever the hell you want, you will never ascend to that higher level of leadership. Unless you've just got such extreme integrity, you're showing up anyway. And I know what you're thinking, oh, that's me. No, it's not. No, it's not, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. It does for me. It does for you. You want to turn this up and this whole yelling thing on a whole new level. You allow your people to hold you accountable when you do it wrong. So you can never be accused of being that leader that says or lives out, hey, do as I say, not as I do. I always remember my father telling me, do better than me. Do better than me. And I understand now, looking back as a father of 2 kids myself, what he was saying. But what I really needed to see him doing was doing better. So I would challenge myself to do better. What your people need to see you do is listening to them. What your people need to see you do so they want to follow you, so that because they know they need to, they know that you're the leader they need, not just the leader they want. Oh my gosh, that's a new thing. Every person who allows that to come out of their mouth, and it's came out of mine, should be ashamed of themselves. Be the leader that people want to follow. No, no. You need to become the leader people need to follow. Because sometimes you're having conversations people don't want to hear. If you're the leader that everybody wants to follow, you're telling everybody what they want to hear. That's a little sidebar. Hey, you got me. See, no one's in this room with me right now, but you guys got me passionate. I'm having a conversation with you. So remember, yelling is multiplicital. That's why people say that you're yelling at me when you're not raising your voice, because it's so much bigger than that. And I hope I opened your eyes to that. And before I get on a much bigger rant, I like to keep these things around that 20-minute mark if I can, because I want to be respectful of your time. Hey, look, if you haven't heard it this week from somebody, I'm proud of you. First and foremost, for making it this far and challenging yourself to grow and to move forward on a higher level. Secondly, I want to tell you that I'm proud of you for just trying. Thirdly, what I want to tell you today is I love you. If you haven't heard it from somebody this week, listen, I want you to hear it. I love you. And I love you because I believe the good Lord loves me. And if he can love me where I'm at, I can love you where you're at. And speaking of where you're at, oh my goodness. So I want to do a shout out for people in the podcast or who've been watching the podcast or listening or watching the podcast. And recently I got some insights on where we're being listened to by and where you guys all are. Oh my gosh. Look, hello to Ellettsville. Hello to Santa Clara. Hello to Ho Chi Minh City. Hello to Hanoi. Hello to Ashburn, Columbus. Hallo, wie geht's in Falkenstein und Frankfurt? Hello in Da Nang, in Dublin. Hello in Dublin. La Paz. I can't pronounce it. Calgary, Madrid, Basra. Tijana? Yeah, sorry. San Juan Bautista. Post Falls. Gaza Khan. Long End, Pueblo Nuevo. I'm going to keep going, guys. Cape Town, Manchester, Phoenix, Karachi, Casablanca, Sussex, Concepcion, Bentray, Herbal, San Miguel, Natrain, and Amambai, and Al Hilal. Hey, guys. Thanks for listening. And I know that went a long way, and I mispronounced everything, but I did it because I love you. Thank you. Thank you, man. God loves you. I love you. Keep going, keep growing, keep building that legacy that will far surpass your legend, because when you're doing that and you're living that kind of life, guys, you're going to inspire others to do the same. And that, my friend, is how we change the world for the better. Have a great week. Keep going. Keep growing. Oh, and don't forget to check us out at bowmanlegacies.com/lead from the middle and begin your journey today at growing as a leader on a massive scale. This will create to you, the intuitive, intentional leader. Start it today and change the paradigm of your life.